SS 8H3. Analyze the role of Georgia in the American Revolutionary Era. Element A. Explain the causes of the American Revolution as they impacted Georgia, including the French and Indian War, the Proclamation of 1763, and the Stamp Act. Our learning target: I will explain how the American Revolution impacted Georgia. So, as we learned in the last standard, Georgia started out as a trustee colony, being controlled by a group of trustees from England. Well, we saw how well that one turned out. They turned the colony back over to the king and they made it a royal colony. Here we are, a royal colony. We have a royal governor and we're being overseen by the king. We are still the newest colony, the youngest colony. We are the smallest and the poorest colony. The causes of the Revolutionary War didn't have an immediate impact on Georgia. For example, the French and Indian War, which was called the 7 Years' War in other parts of the world, both the French and the British wanted the Ohio River Valley region because of fur. But that didn't impact us. The British won the French and Indian War, so that changed the land. The British got Canada and all the land west to the Mississippi River, and Georgia borders expanded to the St. Mary's River to the south and the Mississippi River to the west, and the land around Augusta to the north. War is expensive, so England had to make up some of that money. These two events, Proclamation of 1763 and the Stamp Act, both of those really upset the colonists. King George III issued the Proclamation of 1763. It said colonists could not settle west of the Appalachian Mountains. The reason? Well, the reason was to make peace. We needed to make peace between the Native Americans and the British. They didn't want to ruffle any feathers with the Native Americans because they couldn't afford another war. A lot of the colonists were like, whatever, and still moved west of the Appalachian Mountains. Georgia's reaction to the Proclamation of 1763 was totally different than the rest of the colonies. First, we were a young colony. We had everything we needed, plus the king was taking care of us. Plus, we were on the coast with lots of areas for trade, like ports. Second, we got land from the Spanish after the French and Indian War. As I said before, war is expensive. So how did the British government pay for the French and Indian War? Well, they taxed the colonists. The Stamp Act was the first tax that was directly imposed on the colonists. The Stamp Act was a tax on paper goods like newspapers, licenses, and legal documents. This upset the colonists because no one was in Parliament representing them. It was taxation without representation. Some colonists even joined the Sons of Liberty in response to the Stamp Act. Eventually, Parliament repealed or got rid of the Stamp Act due to the pressure that the colonists put on them. The conflict in Georgia over the Stamp Act wasn't as great as it was in the other colonies. The stamps, well, they were actually sold in the Georgia colony, unlike in some of the other colonies. Governor James Wright was extremely loyal to the king, and the colony was still new and young, so a lot of the colonists were still loyal. Some of those Georgia colonists, they weren't so loyal. In response to the Stamp Act, some of the colonists joined the Liberty Boys, a group that was affiliated with the Sons of Liberty.